This is the Untold Italy travel podcast, and you're listening to episode number 188.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week, your host, Katie Clark, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and, of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Hello, ciao everyone. I've got a wonderful surprise for you today. My good friend, author Corinna Cook, is back on the show. Hooray! Corinna writes the Glam Italia travel guide series, and she's a treasure trove of knowledge about Italy. We just love having her join us on the podcast. Corinna is a dedicated Italian beach lover, and I couldn't think of a better guest to join us to talk about discovering the Italian coast. She loves the beach and the whole experience of going to the beach and the Lido in Italy, which is probably a bit different to the way things roll in your part of the world. I will warn you though, this episode might get a bit bossy because, as you've heard me and other guests say, there is much more to Italian seaside vacations than the Amalfi Coast. We get it, everyone wants to go there, but that makes it a little bit less special in my book. There's so many other options, and Corinna's here to share just how you can get those Italian beachy vibes elsewhere in Italy. So grab your sun hat and settle in. We're headed to the beach in Italy. Bentornata, Corinna. Welcome back to the Untold Italy podcast.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for having me back. It's great to be back here to talk to everybody again.
Oh, it's been way too long between recordings, but I'm so glad you're back. You've had a few long stints in Italy this year. Where did you spend your time so far?
I was there during the winter for a while, and I was in Abruzzo, which is, I always say my heart's in Abruzzo and my soul's in Rome. So I was there in Abruzzo in the winter, and then I had tours going, my Glam Italia tours in May and June. So that does a lot of time in Rome, down the Amalfi Coast, back up in Tuscany, up in Venice. So it's up and down the country, but it's been wonderful.
It is. We're sort of getting back into the rhythm of what it was like before the thing we do not mention.
It's tremendous, but I will say that so last year was the busiest travel year I've ever seen in all my years of traveling to Italy, and this year is even busier. So I think it's really important to have some plan Bs up your sleeve when you're planning your trips there, and just know that you want to book everything possible as far out as possible because everything is booking out.
It sure is. I was just saying to Corinna before we jumped on the recording that I just checked some prices for Florence in early October, and I nearly fell off my chair for the hotels that I normally pay €300 a night to now €1,000 a night.
That's
anyway,
crazy.
So before we jump into our chat today, Corinna, maybe we can remind our listeners who you are, what you do, and how fabulous you are, and about everything to do with Italy.
So my name's Corinna Cook, and I write a best-selling book series called the Glam Italia How to Travel Italy series. So I have one book that's all about how to put together a trip, and it's got all kinds of help for you once you're on the ground and all kinds of cool information in there. And then I have Glam Italia, 101 Fabulous Things to Do in Rome, and I have 101 Fabulous Things to Do in Florence, and Glam Italia, 101 Fabulous Things to Do in Venice. So that's who I am. I eat, breathe, and sleep Italy. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited because I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram. It was somebody who had bought my Venice book, and she and her husband were in Venice, and they were staying like in the area where I stay because they're like, we'll do all these things that she says. And they spotted this gelato store that I talk about in the book. And so they're like, oh, we have to go there. And they walked across and the store had blown up a picture of the book cover and of the review, and they had it in the window. So they're taking all these photos and sending it to me. So then when I went and had a look myself, once I got to Venice, of course, I was taking selfies with it and just beside myself excited. And my poor mom was probably like, oh, for the love of God, make her stop sending. But they'd put my book at eye level as you're walking past, and in other books that have written about them were down low. So mine was up higher than Lonely Planet, than all these other really famous guides. So that made me even more excited.
Respect you. And I know you're scheming on a few things, so I don't know if you can say anything.
Always.
But
I can't say anything right now, but I got all kinds of projects in the works, and it's going to be a really interesting few years coming up, that's for sure.
You always manage to find some really cool, interesting things to do that are well off the beaten path. And that's kind of like your superpower. And that's why we love having you on the show.
Oh, thank you. I love that. And I think even in the big bustling cities, you can be off the beaten track. You can be away from the crowds. You can be away, like you're only 2 blocks away. So it's not like you're having to go traversing all the way across the other side of town. But there's so many things to see and do that will just blow your mind, that have you away from the crowds. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful country. And it's full of pasta.
Full of pasta, full of gelato, full of fun times, full of just people smiling.
Yes, and so friendly. I love that.
So we're going to talk today about beach culture and the amazing coastal spots around Italy, because for some reason, known only to themselves, well, we know why, but everyone's fixated on the Amalfi Coast. But we want to share with you that Italy is got a huge, huge coastline. In fact, it's obviously a peninsula. So it sticks out into the Mediterranean and the Adriatic seas. And so you've got...
And the Ionian.
And the Ionian, yeah. And there's
Mediterranean and Ligurian. There's lots of seas. And in fact, I was getting some facts and figures because I was scared you were going to ask me them and I wouldn't have them. But Italy has 7,900 kilometers of coastline. And for those of you in the US, that's 4,900 miles of coastline. Plus, it has hundreds of islands. So there's so many incredible oceanic opportunities for you when going to Italy. And it's not necessarily a big stretch to get to anywhere because it's quite a narrow country. You can really get to the coast quite easily.
The Amalfi Coast is 34 miles long. So it seems ridiculous. What did you say? 4,900 miles in American
4,900 miles in American money and 7,900 kilometers in the rest of the world's currency.
Okay. So why is everyone going to the 34-mile long stretch of coast? I don't know.
I think because they see it on Instagram and TikTok and they're like, this is where I need to go. And, honestly, I take my tours to the Amalfi Coast to go see the Amalfi Coast. But normally at the end of my tours, I like to take a week at the beach, or the best part of a week. I'll go to the beach. Because to me, I can't beat being at the sea and being on the water. That's my favorite thing. I would never go to the Amalfi Coast or to the Cinque Terre for my personal vacation. So many places that are just astoundingly fantastic that are going to give you the experience that you're dreaming about. Because when you close your eyes and dream about being at a beach in Italy, you're not dreaming about being there with 3 cruise ships full of people who can't decide which foot goes next, and they've all got their fanny packs on and they're taking up all the space in the street and all the rest of it. That's not the dream. And there's so many places where you can go that you feel like you're in a Fellini movie or something. It's just so beautiful. And, it also depends on when you're going. So August, I wouldn't be advising it because everywhere is going to be packed and booked out and super expensive and super hot. So if I was traveling to Italy in July, I would be doing a beach-centric trip because July is the busiest month. It's the most expensive month and it's the hottest month. So I would be planning a different kind of trip. I think, too, for a lot of people, they're coming across the world to Italy, especially if they're coming for the first time. They're not thinking about being at the beach. They're thinking about all the monuments they want to see and being in the big cities and seeing all the everything, which I completely understand. But, as we get into talking about the beaches and beach culture and everything, there's lots of great ways that you can go and spend a half day I'm the queen of the half day. I'm going to tell you about that because I found out all these great ways that I can slot in. Anytime you can get me near the ocean, that's where I'm going to be. There's so many great options, great things that you can do. So you're still seeing all your big monuments and your everything, but you're also getting a taste of this experience. And I feel that a beach experience in Italy is very different than a beach experience anywhere else. It's different from the rest of Europe. It's different from where I grew up. Like I grew up in New Zealand where it's black sand beaches and they're wild and all the rest of it. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. And I think that beach time in Italy is as iconic as when you see people riding around Vespas and that whole dreamy riding around the piazza thing. That's that same kind of iconography. So it's really tremendous. Another figure I wanted to give you before I forget is that in Europe, they have an accreditation for beaches called Blue Flag. And your best beaches are Blue Flag beaches. And Italy has more than any other country in Europe. It has 281 beaches that have been accredited as being Blue Flag beaches. And it's based on 32 criteria. But it means that it had a level of excellence over the past 4 years. It has to be measured on sustainability. So they're not building up like condo blocks, and destroying nature, which, a lot of places are. And so there's nowhere in Italy that you're going to go to the beach where it's going to look like you're in Tenerife or anything like that. Also based on accessibility, on waste management, cleanliness, and the enhancement of the surrounding nature. So when you're going to these Blue Flag beaches, you're not just getting a great beach experience. You're getting all this other stuff. They're visually astounding. I'm always amazed, and I spend a lot of time at the beaches in Italy, but I'm always amazed that as far as I can swim out, and I'm a pretty powerful swimmer, you can look down and see the bottom. It's clean and clear and gorgeous, and it's wonderful. And if you're traveling with kiddos, they have green flag beaches, which have all the trimmings of the blue flag one. So you've got that cleanliness. There's not going to be trash rolling up on the beach on top of your kids. But the green flag beaches are the best family beaches. So they have the clean sand, they've got shallow water and lifeguards, and you normally have like a long stretch of shallow water. So kids can do good playing and they're not going to get pummeled by waves and sucked out.
I think it's really interesting, all the different types of beaches as well in Italy. So obviously I'm from Australia and we have typically long, wide, sandy beaches, which is not necessarily the case in Italy. So if you're thinking that's what you're getting, depending on where you're going, like you can obviously get those wide, sandy beaches in Sardinia and in Puglia. But in other places in Italy, we're thinking about pebbly beaches and rocky beaches as well, which I thought I wouldn't really like. But I actually love them because I don't like sand. I don't like sand in my swimsuit. I don't like sand in my hair. I don't like that whole part of that beach experience. I'd much rather go where the rocks are.
See, maybe I'm caught in the middle because I love sand beaches and I have so many sand beach places in Italy that I go to that they're so beautiful and the sand is so fine and it's gorgeous. I don't like spiky rocks. I don't like it when you have to wear water shoes to go in the water. But then there's a lot of places that they might have, like it might be a rock beach, but they have these platforms where they'll set up all the sun chairs and everything. And you can lie out on the platforms and then dive off in and swim, and they have ladders that you climb back up. So you can be at a rocky beach and not ever have to come in contact with the rocks.
They have a lot of those in Salento, don't they?
They have them in Sorrento. They have them I'm going to be in Sicily in September with a group. And there's ones that I love to go to in Ortigia where, it's just like everywhere around you, your brain can't quite compute the beauty of what you're seeing. And then you're lying out on these gorgeous things and diving off into the water. And, it's fabulous. But I think if you're planning on going to the beach, even if only for an afternoon, you want to do a little research and just have a look and see if the beach is near where you can go, if they're rocky beaches or sandy beaches. And then Tuscany has a lot of sandy beaches. It has a lot of rocky ones, but it has a lot of sandy ones too, if you know where to go. I had a friend recently that I was talking to, and he was saying, well, why would I want to go to the beach when I'm in Italy? I can go to the beach here in the States. And I'm like, well, it's completely different. It's like, could not be more different. And then he said, oh, and there are all those horrible rocky beaches. And I'm like, no. No. I know all these sandy beaches and they look like you're in the movies. And, it's beautiful. So lots of options.
Well, let's unpack that a bit. So what about the beach culture in Italy? What makes it so different to the beach culture in the United States or in Australia? I mean, first of all, in Australia, we don't pay to go to the beach. And we come with everything. We have the big umbrellas, or now everyone's coming with a, what do you call it? A beach tent. Yeah. It's more like it's almost like a marquee for the beach. People are setting up these huge temporary structures, and they've got their, we call them eskies or ice fridges and all of that. But you don't need that in Italy.
And that's what I love. So in the beginning, I couldn't wrap my head around it because I grew up in New Zealand where it's all wild beaches and you just go with all your stuff and plonk down and away you go. But it took me one time going to an Italian beach club and I was hooked and I'm ruined and I'll never be the same again. And I think a lot of it ties in with the Italian concept of bella figura, of like everything looking good and you looking your best. Well, actually, I'll come back to that a little bit. So you have like a lido culture. And so sometimes they're called lidos, sometimes they're called stabilimenti, sometimes they're called bagni, but they're these like beach clubs where they have all the rows of beach chairs and the umbrellas and all of that. And then you come in and you're going to pay to have a sun chair and umbrella for the day, or it might be like 2 sun chairs and an umbrella in between, or however. But I feel like you from the get-go, you're a little bit chic. You're not trudging down with all this wrapper that you have to carry down. You come down with a beach bag. Yeah, you've got your beach bag. And you can arrive there not having to already have your swimsuit on and everything. You can arrive there looking polished because you've just spent your day, doing whatever. Now you arrive to the beach club. They have really nice changing rooms. So you're not getting changed in a toilet. You're getting changed in a changing room. Most of them will have toilets and showers. And so when you are done with your beach day, you're not now going out to aperitivo looking like you've been dragged through a gorse bush backwards. Most of us look a bit grunty after we've been at the beach all day and your hair is all messed up and you're all covered in sunscreen. Instead, like I watch the Italian women and they go in, they're in the shower area, they have showers, they put themselves together, they put their nice outfit on, and now they're trotting out to go to aperitivo or to go to dinner or whatever they're doing, and they look a little bit chic. They don't look like they've been chewed up and spat out, which most people do at the end of a beach day. So I'm all about that. And then most of these stabilimenti will have a cafe of some description. Like it might be, an Italian truck stop is going to have a fabulous bar and a fabulous coffee bar and fabulous food. So even if you're down at that level, even if the beach club that you go to is right kind of at the bottom tier, it's still going to have a fabulous coffee machine. It's going to have, they'll be able to make you great drinks and there'll be some kind of snacks, but it works its way all the way up to some pretty chic dining options. Some of them have rental towels. There's one that I use in Venice that I'm going to tell you about that has big white fluffy towels that you can rent for €3. They have lockers, so you can lock up your handbag, lock up your valuables. You're not worrying about your stuff on the beach, which is really, really great when you're factoring a beach afternoon into part of a broader travel day where you've got stuff with you, which is me a lot of the time. And then they have cabanas. So the cabanas are typically rented out. You'll have people who come to that beach for the whole summer and they'll rent it, the cabana for the whole summer, or they'll rent it for a month or 3 weeks or however long they're going to be there. And they'll have all of their beach stuff in this cabana. So they have their towels and all of their sunscreens and games for the kids and everything you can possibly think of. So that, again, and to me, I tie it all in with the bella figura because they arrive from work or from whatever and they're looking decent and they go in their little cabana, are able to hang up their clothes instead of like rolling up their nice clothes and sticking them in a beach bag. They can hang them up and then they'll get on their swim gear, go swimming, and when they're done, they can go have a shower, come back to their cabana, get changed, and go out into the world looking nice, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know what I love the most is being able to get the cappuccino or the glass of wine while you're lying on your beach bed with the sea lapping at your feet.
It.
I
I
mean,
love it. And, I think one of the things that makes it quite different from most places that you would go to is the visual. So you don't have condo buildings and modern builds and stuff around you. Most places that I go to or have been to have historic Italy behind you.
mm,
These villages still look like fishing villages, which is what we love about the Cinque Terre and what we fall in love with the Amalfi Coast is that it still looks like that. But that's most of the Italian coastline looks like that. So you're surrounded by beauty. It's like you're transported into this whole different world, this whole different experience. But I love it. So I do a lot when I'm in Venice. I always factor in beach time. And, I'll normally finish one tour in Venice and then have a couple of days off. And then the next tour starts in Venice. So I'll always have a beach day figured in there. Or we have a day on my tours where we will go hit Murano, Burano. And if anyone's interested, Torcello, but it's harder for me to get people to go to Torcello. I mean, I'm obsessed with the place, but most people aren't. But we have a Vaporetto pass that day so that if you want to stay on and do whatever, you do that. You now know how to use the Vaporetto to get back home. But it's really great. Oftentimes, we're there in the summertime, so it's warm. So oftentimes we'll buzz back, grab our swim gear, and then jump on the Vaporetto and go over to Lido. And we'll probably get there about 3:00 in the afternoon. We've had a full day already, and we'll go to a beach club there. And I don't know if you've been to any of the beach clubs in Lido before, but they are fabulous. Oh my gosh, it's just fabulous. So it's not on the lagoon side. So you're not swimming in that nasty water. It's on the other side of Lido Island. So Lido, for those of you who don't know, Lido is one of the barrier islands off of Venice. And the back side of it is on the Adriatic. And it's got this beautiful, fine golden sand. It's gorgeous. The water is gorgeous. And I would have thought, if you look at the Adriatic, it's like this long, kind of somewhat narrow channel of water coming up. So I would have thought that when you get to that top end, the very end of the Adriatic, which is up where Venice is, I would have expected there to be lots of trash and oil slicks and stuff, but it's not. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So you can pop over there and spend 2 or 3 hours at the beach, and you haven't given up any of your travel day. You've done lots of traveling and sightseeing and stuff, and now you're taking in this other experience as well. And it's wonderful. And then also when you're going for a half day or a partial day, you're not paying the full price for your sun chair, you're paying a reduced price. So you're getting all kinds of benefits there. But everybody that I take when we go do that, they might be like, oh, I don't know about going to the beach. I'm in Italy. Why do I want to go to the beach? And they get there and they're like, oh. And when the man's bringing you your spritz, your Aperol spritzes, and you're sitting there sipping spritzes and looking at that water, and it's gorgeous water to swim in too. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, when it's quite shallow, it can be quite warm. I mean, I like my waters tropical, I have to say. So, but even we were in Capri last year, and we did go to a very fancy beach club there, and oh my goodness, that was just divine. I was like, it's one of the top days my kids would talk about.
Marina Piccola?
Yes, that's
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and it was a big treat. I mean, you can pay a wide variety of prices for these beach clubs too. So some of them are not that pricey, but now they're getting, in Capri, you were talking, it's an experience.
This is part of why we're saying, why are you going to the Amalfi Coast to go to the beach? Like, why are you, because some of these are really expensive. Like in Porto Cuervo in Sardinia, you could be paying $200 a day for a chair, 200 euros a day. But, I always figure somewhere around 20 euros. And if you are not going to one of these super tourist areas, you really can make this an affordable experience. And you're not, to me, maybe once in a lifetime I'll go and spend that kind of money just for the chic fun of it. But in general, because I like going to the beach a lot, I'm not going to spend 200 euros on a beach chair.
That's a lot of money. I mean, does it fly? That's what Does it order your
When-
spritzers for you? Like, is there a button on it?
Last June, when we were in Venice with one of my groups, they were just like, heck yeah, let's go to the beach. So we went over, and what I do is you get off the Vaporetto at Lido, and the main street that crosses from one side of Lido to the other is the Gran Viale Santa Maria Elisabetta. So you just walk down the street at dead ends in a beach club called the Blue Moon. And the Blue Moon is about the most average of all the beach clubs you could possibly find. So what I do, and here's a little tip for you, is when you got Blue Moon right in front of you, hang a right. That first one you come to, it's got these thatched roofs on all these cabanas. You can't miss it. It doesn't look like any of the others. It's absolutely fabulous. It's called Le Bain 1900. And oh, it's so great. So we turned up there for, we got there about 3:00. They only charged us €20 per person, and that was including renting a towel. And we got one of these thatched cabana things, and it was just the most glorious, glorious afternoon. And I think if you said to anybody on that tour, what was your highlight or what's in your top 5, that would, if not the highlight, would be definitely in the top 5. And the swimming is fantastic. The water's clean. It was nice and warm. Like it wasn't icy cold water or anything.
People don't think of Venice in particular about beaches, but obviously we're here to tell you it's doable.
Oh my goodness. It's fabulous. I do it all the time. And any trip to Venice where I don't get to go to the beach, I feel really let down. And then when you go to have a shower and get dressed and everything afterwards, it's all these chic Venetian ladies of all ages. And you'll see women who are in their 80s and they get in the shower and they're cleaning off. And the next thing they come walking out and she's got some lovely outfit on and the hair's done and the makeup's on. And you're like, oh my goodness, I love it. So to me, that's part of the beach culture. But I do it all over the place. There's just so many great places to go.
But even from Rome, you can do little day trips to the beach, can't you?
You can. I'm not as crazy about the beaches around Rome. I mean, you literally, it's a half hour on the train. I don't think they're as madly chic as some of the other ones I go to, but, I'll go there all the time. I love it. I can't get enough of it. In fact, last year, at the end of my tours in June, I went to Abruzzo for a week to the beach because, for me, when I'm done, I like to go for a week. But when you're planning a trip, if you're planning a trip to Italy in the hot times, I would definitely advise planning in some time at the beach, whether you're doing a half day or whether you're maybe going to do a combo trip where you've got, say, 3 or 4 days at the beach and you've got the rest of your days doing sightseeing stuff.
Combo is the best. Everyone should combo.
Oh, it really is. And it was interesting when I did this in Abruzzo because a friend of mine had just bought a house in Vasto, which she's doing renos on it at the moment. And Vasto, I hadn't even heard of it until Jamie bought a house there. But when you're walking through Vasto, you feel like walking through Lecce. And Lecce is one of my favorite places in all of Italy. And the 2 towns were built at the same time and it's kind of the same architecture, but they're gorgeous. So my plan had been that I would go to Vasto, and you have Vasto's kind of on the hill, and at the bottom of the hill, it's all beach and you're on the Adriatic. And so my plan had been to rent a place on the beach and go up in the mornings, go up into Vasto town and look around and then spend my afternoons on the beach. Well, it didn't quite go as planned because I accidentally booked a place in Marina San Salvo, which is 13 kilometers further down the beach. And it was a town that's like a newer build town. It doesn't look all old and historic. And at first I got there and I was like, oh dear, what have I done? And I didn't have a rental car. So, and they have buses there, but they're more kind of conceptual than actually working to any schedule. So I had to do this whole regroup, and it turned out brilliant because it forced me to just stop. And I just spent my days on the beach. The beach clubs there were phenomenal. Again, it's that thing where you can swim out as far as you can swim and you're seeing straight to the bottom. But it was great having a bunch of days at a beach club because I thought, I'll just go to the same one because they're all on the same stretch of beach, and been here the first time, and it was great. But so in the morning, the first morning I went, people kind of like looking at me, kind of like, who's this person? Because this is a place that the same people go to over and over and over and over. I don't think they see a whole lot of new faces. And at lunchtime, everyone takes a break for lunch, and they go home and they have lunch and a little snooze, and you're out of the main heat of the day. And then about 3:00 in the afternoon, you come back again. So when I came back again, the nonnas that were at the couple of seats down from me, they kind of like nodded and acknowledged me. And then one of them kind of claps her hands and beckons me over. And she didn't know that I could speak Italian. She wanted to tell me that I needed sun cream on my back. And so then it became this thing. The nonnas would be doing, putting sunscreen on my back and shoulders every day. And every day when I came back, everyone was like, hey, and so what did you eat last night? Where did you go? And what did you have? Who did you talk to? And I made all these great friends. It was wonderful. And I took a boat excursion out to the Trabocchi Islands, which was, oh my goodness, talk about beautiful. And you look at that and you go, why is everybody going to, Capri and everything? Which, Capri's lovely, yes, but it's very overcrowded. And you go to the Trabocchi Islands and they're so beautiful and they feel so undiscovered by mass tourism. That day on this boat excursion was one of the best days of my entire life. It was so fun. And I got on there and my thought getting onto it was like, I'm traveling by myself. I'm not expecting anybody to talk to me. I'm just going to go on a boat trip and I'm going to see these gorgeous islands and be able to jump off the boat and go swimming and I'll be happy and it's great. Well, Italians being Italians, they, it lasted like 45 seconds of people not talking to me. And they're like, would you like some coffee? Would you like this? Would you like that? And there's on this boat trip, there was a wedding party. So a bride and her bridesmaids doing a bachelorette thing. And then there was this group of 4 women who were about my age, they were just doing a day trip and they lived nearby. And honestly, by the time we got to the first stop, I was friends with everyone. I had people to swim with all the time. They'd be like, Corinna, come here. Like, do this. It was just the best fun. So the things like that, I think if the average person could put something like that into their Italy experience, you really are having a full-on experience, and you're meeting new people. When you're doing something new, you're getting a chance to actually interact with people, and you're away from the crowds. It's wonderful.
One of the places I really like on the coast is, I just think Liguria is amazing for beaches. So everyone goes to Cinque Terre, but they're missing out. They just need to get on the train for half an hour. And you can be in a whole nother world, like Camogli up there past Santa Margherita. You've got just beautiful, friendly beaches as well. And the Bay of Silence is one of my favorites because you can go there and one side is the sea beach and then the other one is a bay. And it's gorgeous. There's no English speaking people there. Well, and that can be fun, I think, if you're not, especially if you're sort of, doing the old smile and wink form of communication. But it's really just so different and so unique, and it's really special. I always try and build at least 2 or 3 days of that, especially in the summer. It's just to go to a smaller town, like you said. And I think Abruzzo probably a bit harder to get to for people. You need to have a bit more of an adventurous spirit for that one.
That's a little bit more of an adventure. And, going to Vasto last summer, that was my first time going there. And I've been to Italy a million times.
Yeah.
But I agree. I love Liguria. I have a lot of people reach out to me and ask me about staying in the Cinque Terre. And I'm like, oh, for heaven's sake, no, no. Go in for a day. But there's all these beautiful places up the coast, and you have a completely different experience. Your cost differential is drastically different, just what you're going to pay for a cappuccino and how that experience is going to be, because it's very different if you're wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder with all the cruise ship people. You have a very different relationship with the coffee maker than you do if you are, I stay in Santa Margherita Ligure all the time. I love going to Camogli. There's so many great places up the coast, and you're going to come away from the experience fulfilled. Like, it just fills you up, and you do get to interact with people, and it's so beautiful. So you have the beauty of the Cinque Terre, definitely the towns are gorgeous, but there's equally gorgeous, equally colorful towns like further up the coast as well. And you just don't have that crush of people. You can be going to beach clubs and having a lovely time, or going to the free beaches. There's the free beaches as well. You just go and do your own thing.
Yeah, you've got to find them though, this tiny sliver of, that is one sort of a bit frustrating. If you really just wanted to go for a dip in the sea, if you're that type of person and you really don't want to pay for a beach club, which we highly recommend paying for the beach club, but it is sometimes they don't give the free beaches the primo position, do they?
No. The thing with the beach clubs is that owner of that beach club, which traditionally they've been mostly owned by families, but I think there's some changes happening with that at the moment. But they are responsible for taking care of their patch of land. And so you find that everything is clean. There's not trash. There's not cigarette butts when you get there the next day, kind of thing. Like everything is nice and pristine and clean. And I really like that. And I just love the experience. I think trips to Italy are about building experiences. And this beach club experience is just gorgeous. And people talk to you and they'll come up and know, like if you're there with your kids, I've told this story before, arriving at a beach club in Santa Margherita. Oh no, we were in Rapallo, which is the next town up. And I had my son with me. He was 10 or 11 at the time. And we got all set up and this Italian mom comes up and she's just like sex on a stick. She's just, they just exude that fabulous, like voluptuous. The hair
the
and
grooming, the whole thing.
Yeah, the attitude, everything. And we'd just gotten sat down and she comes up and she points to Tommy and she goes, what is your name? And he's like, Tommy. And she's like, Tommy, you're going to come with me. You're going to come and play with my boys. And she had 3 boys and they were standing behind her. And she just took them. Bye-bye, mama. He had the time of his life. And every day, like people on everybody has the same beach chairs every day. They'd be coming up and saying, Tommy's coming with us for lunch today. We see you later. Bye. And they just take him. So much fun. It's a great thing to do when you've got kids because the Italian culture is very child friendly and your child's not going to be sitting there by themselves on the beach. They're going to be incorporated into everything and they'll be running around. Like Tommy didn't speak a word of Italian and these kids didn't speak a word of English, but they all spoke fun.
We caused a bit of a stir last year because my kids have got we cover up in Australia because we've got a lot of skin cancer problems down under here. And so typically when we go to the beach, the kids will have a short or a long sleeve rash vest, which we wear. So that everyone was quite intrigued as to why we would be wearing that type of outfit at the beach. But, my daughter in particular has got very, very fair skin and we don't, to us, it's an important thing. But, they have a different lifestyle over there when it comes to dressing for the beach, don't they?
But also you don't really burn at the beach there. Like, for example, for me, if I go to the beach in Australia and I'm not 100% on top of sunscreen and reapplying, I will burn and it will hurt and it's not good. In Italy, I might go a bit red, but you won't feel any heat in it, and I'm golden brown the next day. So I think that the sun's not as fierce there as it is down in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, that's true.
If I spent time in the sun here in Phoenix like I do in Italy, I would be burnt to a crisp. I'd be like worse than a lobster.
But it does pose a question about what do you wear to the beach because they have a certain way that they like to go, isn't it? And I mean, you do your own thing, but maybe Corinna can tell us how they like to.
Yeah, so what I recommend to all my tour travelers and when I'm there traveling with friends and things is have a beach cover up. And like because I'm normally going to go to a beach club, I will show up in my regular clothes and then I'll get changed into my swimwear at the beach club. You don't necessarily see so many people wandering around in their swimsuits over there, wandering around the streets. In Salento last year, the mayor put in a new law that you're not allowed to walk around in a bikini top. Like you've got to be covered up. And so I think it's a little bit, not covered up like you're in a religious sect or something, but you can't act like you're in Malibu. You've got to have some kind of cover up over your swimwear. I don't know if they're enforcing it or not. So I would say to people, you're going to wear your normal things at the beach, but just have a beach cover up. And if you're going to be going to a beach club instead of a free beach, then plan on getting changed at the beach. Now, if you're going to a free beach, there's nowhere to get changed. So if I was going to be going to a free beach, I would have my swimsuit on underneath. Also, if you're going to be walking up to the cafe to go get a drink or a coffee or something to eat or whatever, you'll see most people will throw a little something on top, so some kind of beach cover up. You don't normally see people swinging around with a thong bikini and their boobs half out, like wandering up the walkway.
Yeah, I think it's the whole concept, as you were saying, of bella figura, which is putting your best foot forward or making sure you've made an effort, is really important in Italy. And I think it's a really nice way. I mean, if you're going for a swim, go for the swim. And then if you're going up to the bar, let's make sure that we're looking a little bit tidy.
Yeah, throw a little something over top. You have a look around and see what all the Italians are doing. Do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of being respectful to the place that you're in as well. But then I also I can never get enough of Puglia. It's another place if you're wanting to do some beach tripping, or say, for example, say I were to be going down in July for a vacation in Italy. I would be thinking more in terms of staying in a villa down in Puglia, like with a view over the beach, or an apartment with a view of the water, or Maremma. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with the Maremma. I spent a lot of time there last year. And then one of my best friends has a home in Basilicata. So she sold up everything. She's from the UK. She decided that she was done with that life, sold everything, moved to this gorgeous little town called La Rabatana that was built in the 800s when the Arabs were running that part of southern Italy. I mean, her place is ridiculous. You'd absolutely die. And she's made it into like a little Airbnb. She bought a 1,000-year-old house and did it up and made it into an Airbnb, and it's fantastic. So I go there a lot and stay with her, and it's a 20-minute drive from her little hill town down to the beach, and it's white sand beaches, just so incredibly beautiful. And no tour buses. Like, the only people that go down there really are Italians, and you'll find some British people because they get quite adventurous with a lot of the travel that they do. But it's fantastic. And you think, how could anything possibly be better than this moment?
Sounds good. So, Corinna, is there anything we need to know about traveling in August? You've mentioned July a little bit. What about going in August? Because that is the busiest time for Europeans to go to the beach, isn't it?
It really is. And I would actually advise against it, because everywhere that's on the coast, like if you can see well, we call it the ocean here in the US, but everything everywhere else calls it the sea. If you can see the sea water, it's going to be packed. So you're going to have a very different experience. If you have the option of choosing a month to go, I would say don't choose August. So for me, with July and August, so July is your hottest month and it is your most packed month, and it's murder over there right now. Of course, there's just been a massive heat wave. It's packed with, when you look at your places like Rome and Florence, and I think Florence is the most packed at the moment. And it puts an extreme strain on the local life, because when you have all these tourists going there in July when it's super hot, everyone's firing up their air conditioning, which means although they can keep those air conditioners going in, say, in the heart of Florence in the hotels, it's pulling from somewhere, and you've got the next town down the way where they're getting brownouts and blackouts and they're suffering. So if you don't have to be there in July, don't be there in July. In August, you have all of Europe takes August off and they head to the beach. So even if it was just all of Italy taking August off and going to the beach, they're all going with their cars. So you have everything a lot more congested. Every place is going to be booked out, and it is going to be booked out at its highest price. Mm-hmm. Everywhere is going to be packed. I mean, it's going to be packed with Italians, which I enjoy, but it's possibly not going to be the experience that you were dreaming of because it's going to be so busy. So I would say if you have the choice, don't do August. Now, September is phenomenal. June is phenomenal. Those are my favorite two to go for summertime experiences. And of course, that is just my personal opinion. So you have somebody else who'll say, oh, no, we go every year in July and it's fantastic and they'll love it. And my old dermatologist, he used to go to Rome every August. And he's like, oh, no, it's great. There's hardly anybody there. And yes, it's hot and I'm sweating like crazy, but I get to do all these things. And he loved it. So, you're going to make your own experience.
But there's so many things to choose from, isn't it? Like, we haven't even mentioned Calabria, which has got amazing beaches as well.
Oh, my goodness. Like Tropea. And yes, I mean, it's incredible. Dropping down below the Amalfi Coast, so from Salerno down, when you're still in Campania, of course, you have the Cilento and everything. Beautiful, beautiful places to go.
That's where I'm going. Not that I'm a little bit excited.
Then we have Sicily, which is one of my obsessions. And then also, people don't stop and think about all the islands that there are off the coast of Italy. There's so many. And as I said, I was in the Maremma, the beaches in the Maremma, which is southern Tuscany, are just unbelievable. And the water is turquoise. It's so gorgeous. And then in fact, I just posted on Instagram some stuff from Porto Santo Stefano, where I stayed for a little bit last year. And from there, you jump on a ferry and go over to Giglio, which is another gorgeous island. I mean, there's so many things that you can do like that too, where you're getting to jump off a boat and go swimming or go to any of these little islands that are not busy like Capri and they're not touristed up like Capri. So you can go and have that Fellini movie experience on any of these other islands, which is kind of fantastic too.
It is really special. If you're going to have a summer trip to Italy, then you definitely need to factor that in. I think it's just the perfect antidote to all that sightseeing, and you will never regret it, actually. It's one of those special things.
Even if you're planning 2 or 3 days out of your 14-day trip, I think most people tend to go for around 14 days, or that's what I'm hearing. If you can do that and do it in a place that's not super touristed, that makes a huge difference. And then you have to remember too, that so much of Italy is vertical. So if you're going to the beach, for example, if I use the Amalfi Coast, like I stayed one year in Priano and we go to the beach and it was literally 1,000,000 stairs down and you get down and it'd be great and everything, but it was a stony beach, but we were staying there'd be like a platform thing that would be on. But at the end of your beach day,
You've got to get up the top.
You've got to go up 1,000,000 stairs to get up. So that's something to factor in as well, which, down in Puglia, I don't have to do that. In Maremma, I don't have to go up the stairs at the end of the day. And I'm not really averse to going up the stairs either, but it's something to factor in. There was a girl on Instagram or TikTok that put this big complainer thing about the Amalfi Coast, and she was like, you have to go up all these stairs. I'm thinking, probably people don't realize that,
Yeah, we actually played that in our previous episode, and what she said was true. All of the things she said was true. I think the thing that amused us the most was that she was surprised. Because anyway, there is such a myriad of amazing ways you can enjoy Italy's coastline. And Corinna, you've given us so many amazing tips and ideas, and also you continue to do that. And if anyone is interested in getting more of that from you, how can they do that?
Well, you can go to my website, which is corinnacook.com. On social media, I'm mostly active on Instagram, and that's at Corinna Travels. So when I'm over there, I'm just plowing out tons of stories all the time because I always think it's really exciting to see what people are doing when they're there. So you'll see me more active on Instagram when I'm over there. That's my social media of choice. But from corinnacook.com, you've got links out to everything.
Yeah, where you can find her books and her tours and all the things that she does.
So the books are all on Amazon. They're on Amazon worldwide, and they're in paperback and also in the ebook. But I think with travel books, people tend to buy paperback so they can put Post-it notes and write in the margins and everything. Before we go, did you know that there's a pink sand beach in Italy?
I did, and I know where it is too, but why don't you tell everyone?
It's off of this little island called Budelli, which is a little bit north of Sardinia, and they have a pink sand beach, which hopefully all the Instagrammers don't get onto that. But I think it probably is difficult enough to get to that they won't.
Well, let's keep dreaming of pink sand beaches and beach clubs and spritzes by the spritzes. Let's keep doing that, Corinna. And thank you so much for joining us on Untold Italy today. It's always a pleasure having you around to share your wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me back, and I hope everybody has a wonderful summer, and I hope you will all plan some beach time or some coast time into your trip to Italy, especially if you're going in the summer.
Can't think of anything better. Thanks, Corinna.
You're welcome. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Now, if that hasn't convinced you that an Italian beach experience is in your future, I'm not sure what will. Honestly, it's very special, and that's why I've built several days of lido lounging into my family's upcoming trip to Italy. As you know, I love to seek out experiences that are far removed from my daily life here in Australia, and it doesn't really get much more fun or glamorous than an Italian beach club. Whether you're in Venice, on the Adriatic Sea, swanning around Sicily, or exploring the Ligurian coast, there's a patch of water for you to paddle or swim in Italy. Of course, we put all Corinna's details and info on the places she mentioned into the show notes at untolditaly.com/188 for episode 188. You'll also find details on how you can buy her books there too. Grazie, thanks for your ongoing support of Untold Italy. We truly appreciate all of you, our listeners, joining us from around the world. If you have a spare moment, we would so appreciate it if you left us a 5-star rating and review on your favourite podcast app. That way we can reach more Italy-loving travellers just like you. That's all for today. On next week's episode, we're exploring Italian wine varieties. But until then, it's ciao for now.
The Untold Italy podcast is an independent production. Podcast editing, audio production and website development by Mark Hatter, production assistance and content writing by the other Katie Clark. Yes, there are 2 of us. For more information about Untold Italy, please visit untolditaly.com.